Welcome back to our kitchen, everyone. Today we're gonna be making tamales sordos, which translates to tamales.
Deaf tamales.
Deaf tamales.
Yeah.
That's the name my mom used to call the tamales that had no filling. She would make those when she would run out of the filling to make more tamales. So she would just add the masa onto the hoja and make a tamal with no filling. Aside from making the tamales sordos, we're also gonna make a pork stew that we're gonna pour over the tamales. So it's gonna be like a smothered tamal.
So you can use beef, pork, chicken, or you could just drizzle sour cream on the top with some salsa. Delicious with a cafecito.
You're in charge of what you're gonna put in your tamales this year, depending on your budget. With that said, we're gonna be using a few chiles to make the pork stew, which I'm gonna be using about 10 chile guajillos. Now these are all washed and we removed the seeds and the stems. And we're gonna use 1 chile ancho. Now to add heat to the dish, I'm also gonna add chile puya. This is very similar to chile guajillo, but as you can see, they are a lot smaller and thinner, but they do hold more heat than the regular chile guajillo. I also have 1 small onion that my husband very carefully cut into into small pieces. And we're also gonna use about 6 garlic cloves, allspice berries, cumin, and some salt. For the preparation of the masa, I'm gonna use this type of masa, which is from Masa, but you can use any brand of your choice. And we're also gonna need lard, 2 cups of lard. I'm gonna use 8 cups of Masa, which you would typically use 1 cup of lard for every 4 cups. So we're gonna use 8 cups of Masa and 2 cups of lard. I'm gonna use water for the masa. You can also use chicken broth, vegetable broth, or beef broth. But I'm gonna use water and then I'm gonna season it with chicken bouillon. For the pork topping, I have about 4 pounds of pork stew. This one I did cut into smaller pieces. So I'm gonna start by heating up the olla or the cacerola. And we're gonna start by dry roasting the peppers. I'm gonna do the peppers first because we don't want them to burn, which is something that you don't want to happen to your peppers. Otherwise your sauce is gonna end up a little bit bitter. So be careful when toasting your peppers and make sure you turn them over often. So we're gonna toast these for about maybe a minute or 2. I have my burner set at medium heat, so depending on how high you have your burner set at, remove them promptly before they burn. And you don't have to use your fingers, you can use some pinzas, pero somos mexicanas, no le tenemos miedo al comal. You can start to smell them just about now. And they're starting to get a little bit pliable, as you can see. I'm gonna take these out. Este sí voy a usar las pinzas because they are hot now. Some of the peppers still had seeds, so I'm gonna discard the seeds before we add the onion and the garlic. Now I'm gonna add the onion and the garlic. You can use a little bit of vegetable oil to saute the onion and the garlic, but when using this pan, it's not really necessary. We're gonna cook these ingredients for about a minute or 2 or until the onion and the garlic are nice and fragrant. So at this point, we're gonna add the chiles back in. And I'm gonna add 4 cups of water. We're gonna bring this to a boil and then we're gonna turn off the burner. And we're gonna cover for about 15 minutes so the peppers can become nice and pliable. The pork we're gonna season with salt and black pepper. To cook the pork, I'm gonna use about 2 tablespoons of manteca. Wait for this to heat up a little bit and then we'll add the pork. We're gonna cook the pork for about 20 to 30 minutes. Meanwhile, let's prepare the salsa. If the ingredients in the pan are too hot to blend, allow them to cool down before you take them to the blender. Meanwhile, let's prepare the hojas for the tamales. These hojas that I found are super clean, and they're so pliable they're almost ready to use. And they also smell a little bit like vinegar, so I'm pretty sure they were already clean. But I'm still gonna soak them in hot water just to make sure they're nice and clean and to make them extra pliable so they're easier to fold. Add enough water to where the hojas are completely submerged in the water. You can also place a heavy object over the hojas to ensure that they're completely submerged in the water and leave them soaking for about 30 minutes. Now that the peppers have cooled down, we're going to transfer all the ingredients to the blender, including the water that we used to soak the peppers in. I'm also going to add 1 teaspoon of whole allspice berries, cumin, and salt. And blend these ingredients over medium-high speed until it reaches a smooth consistency. The pork has been cooking for about 30 minutes, and as you can see, all the juices have simmered down and all that's left is the meat and the fat that rendered from the meat. Using a strainer, strain in half of the sauce from the blender and reserve the other half for the preparation of the tamales. With the help of a spatula or a spoon, move the sauce around until all that's left is the residue of the chiles. I also used 1.5 cups of water to rinse the residue that remained in the strainer. Discard of the residue and bring to a boil. Once it reaches a boil, add 1 large bay leaf, cover and simmer on low heat for 1 hour. In a separate pan large enough to accommodate the 8 cups of corn flour that we're going to use to prepare the masa, melt a spoonful of the manteca, then strain in the remainder of the sauce from the blender. Using a spoon or a spatula, move it around to help it go through the strainer a bit faster. To rinse the residue that remains in the strainer, I used about 2 cups of the 2 liters of water that we're going to use for the preparation of the masa. Boil the sauce for about 5 minutes over medium heat. Season with 1 tablespoon of salt or chicken bouillon. At this point, I'm only going to add 1 tablespoon. Once we add in the masa and the rest of the ingredients, we can taste it, and if we need more, we can always add more. Next, add in the 2 cups of manteca. Move it around until 90% of the manteca is fully melted. Then pour in the remainder of the water. Once you add in the water, continue to stir until all the manteca is fully melted. At this point, turn off the burner, which was set at medium-high. Once the manteca is fully melted, remove it from the burner. Before you begin to add the masa, you want to make sure it's not too hot. So make sure you test it to make sure it's kind of warm but not too hot, otherwise it's going to cook your masa. We're going to start by adding the baking powder and the baking soda first. There's the baking powder and the baking soda. And we're going to mix. Hear that sizzle? Now we're going to begin to add 1 cup of flour at a time. Here's 1 cup. And before you add more corn flour, make sure it's completely mixed with the mixture. I transfer the corn flour to a bowl to make it easier to measure. Two. 3, 4, 5, 'Getting a little bit harder to mix. 6, 'I think after this one, we're going to switch over to the wooden spoon. Let's mix this one in. and then we'll do the switch. And the last one, 8. With the help of my husband, the masa is now ready. Now we can begin to assemble the tamales, which is going to be super easy. Perfect. The masa turned out beautiful. We don't use any fancy tools to spread the masa. We just use a spatula. So when you're spreading the masa on your hoja, let me pick a good one here. One that's not too bad. All right, this one's perfect. So when you're spreading the masa on your hoja, you're gonna find that there's a rougher side to the hoja and a smoother side. You wanna spread it on the smoother side of the hoja. And since we're not adding any filling, we can just add a plump in the middle and fold it up. It's about, and you can make them as big as you'd like. And as you can see, this one, even when just moving it around, it doesn't stick to the hoja. So we're gonna make it a little bit shorter so we can fold the end. Just push it down a little bit. Then we're gonna fold one end and then the other. Fold over the tip. And you wanna leave some room on the top because these are gonna expand. And then we're gonna place them on a cookie sheet. And my husband is gonna join in the fun to help me assemble all these tamales. And look at the size of this hoja. We can make a twin with this one. I love my twins. We add one to one side and to the other side. And then we fold one over like that to cover it, para cobijarlo, para que no tenga frío. This one could use a little bit more. Just like that. Just like that. Fold it over, and then we meet in the middle like that. Fold over the tip. Now you have a twin. I just love how easy this masa is to prepare, and it always comes out perfect. We are just about done assembling the tamales. Next step, we're going to take them to the stove to begin the cooking process. To cook the tamales, I'm going to use a 20-quart steamer. I'm going to fill the bottom with water to fill the steamer with water, ensuring that it doesn't go over the liner. Then place the liner inside of the steamer. Turn on the burner to high heat so the water can begin to heat up. Now we're going to arrange the tamales in a stand-up position. You can also arrange them like this, depending on the size of your pot, but since this one's pretty tall, we're gonna arrange them standing up. Paraditos así. And start out on the outer edge and then work our way in. We did end up making a little bit over 3 dozen tamales. Now that can vary depending on the size that you make yours. The water should be hot. You don't want to start out with cold water because then your tamales, especially if you're placing them in a stand-up position, they will tend to scrunch down and they can fall out of the husk. Now, to avoid that, you can also wrap them in wax paper, which helps tremendously so they don't fall apart, and also so they can cook faster because it holds in the moisture. If you can't fit them all in one pot, you can cook 2 different batches, or you can wrap them in aluminum foil and plastic and freeze them. Vamos con los tamalitos. No, se me antoja una canela. Con este frío y con esta lluvia, se antoja una canelita. The smaller hojas that you couldn't use, some of these are good size still, so if they're still a good size, you can reuse them when you're done steaming the tamales. But for now, we're gonna cover the top. This way it will hold in the steam and the tamales will cook faster. Just cover the top of the tamalitos, así. Esta está muy grande, esta está buena. Así, que todos estén tapados, que estén bien cobijaditos, para que no tengan frío. Todos bien tapados, nice and covered, so they don't. Right there. One more, and then we'll cover it and let it do its thing. Right there. Ahí estamos. Ahora sí, we're gonna cover and we're gonna cook for about 1 hour. Our little stew has been cooking for a little bit over an hour and it looks delicious. I can't wait to dig in. The tamales have been cooking for a little bit over an hour. I'm going to remove 2 of the tamales to make sure they are done. Once you remove them from the pot, allow them to cool down for about 1 to 2 minutes before you remove the husk. I also prepared un arroz con vegetables to go with our dish. Instead of just adding a spoonful of the rice onto a plate, I'm going to use a small bowl and I'm going to fill it up with the rice. This is going to give your plate a nice presentation, especially if you want to impress your guests this holiday season. Remove the husk and add the tamales to the plate. You can also make it more festive and add any other sides of your choice. And top it off with the stew that we prepared with the red chili. This holiday or anytime you're craving tamales, prepare them without the filling. And get creative and prepare different types of toppings your whole family and guests will enjoy. Thank you so much for watching and make sure to join us in our next video for another easy and delicious recipe. Thanks for watching.